still just continue to be impressed at how well XRP is continuing to hold structure, hold these ranges, and frankly show some resilience that you're not seeing from many other altcoins in the space. Last week was a rough week for alts, don't get me wrong, and XRP did see some red, but yet it continues to bounce around, continues to stay on the bullish side of things. And yes, we are building a bullish formation right now, which I'll talk about in this video, but I also want to talk about how there is one of the biggest weeks we've seen recently that just took place for XRP that I think a lot of people are ignoring. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. It's been growing like crazy, and it's all because of you guys. Now, the only thing that I think would have been better about last week is if XRP did in fact hold that 200-day moving average. We didn't, unfortunately, and that's disappointing. But unfortunately, with the U.S. entrance into overseas tensions, that caused a lot of uncertainty in the market. We saw some liquidations throughout the space, and many altcoins even set lower lows than what they were experiencing back here in the early part of April. XRP did not. We're seeing an extreme level of conviction from XRP that you're not seeing in a lot of other assets in the crypto space. And actually right now, what we're in the process of doing is actually building a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here. Just going to throw that out there, see if it sticks. But, we do have a neckline. That was a very terrible drawing, but somewhere up around actually our 7.0 line. So if we start to target those prices again, which are about $2.55 XRP, that could in fact be our moment where XRP is trying to make its extension back towards that $3.40, $3.50 range. Obviously, there's no guarantees or financial advice or anything like that. We're still kind of waiting for the market to quit going through its fits. Right now, it's about 7:24 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're seeing U.S. money do what it's done almost every single day, and that's try to dump the market. Now, that being said, Michael Saylor did buy more BTC this morning. That tends to lead to some dumps in the market, which kind of sucks, but we'll have to see if we can recover from that as the day progresses. But obviously, U.S. Intervention with Iran and Israel, that definitely has caused the stirs in the market. Obviously, there's now questions of, are we going to see some Iran retaliations? Are they going to continue to close down the Strait of Hormuz? I never know if I'm saying that right or not, but that obviously could cause some fits with oil prices. That could cause some uncertainty in the stock market, which could spill over to the crypto market. So there's a lot of questions as the week progresses. A couple things I want to point out. We have a PCE report on Friday. Hopefully some good economic data coming from that. Jerome Powell is speaking actually on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maybe some hints at some monetary policy changes. Probably not going to happen, but just be aware of that. Might be something that's a little bit of a surprise for the market that causes some positivity. Okay. Now I will say BTC also building a big inverse head and shoulders. There have been some arguments about, usually that is actually at the bottom of formations, but sometimes things just act a little bit different in the charts. If we continue to see Michael Saylor accumulating, if we continue to see institutional money accumulating like they have been in these prior few weeks, you could potentially see a great BTC bounce here and reversal. And we could be talking about, again, following global M2 liquidity and setting some new all-time highs. All right. Now, that being said, altcoins still kind of lagging here, trying to build that right shoulder on our inverse head and shoulders. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. But really, the biggest thing we need is just an overall sentiment shift in the market. We've fallen back into this fearful range in terms of the fear greed index, which sucks, but is also an important reset if we're going to make some higher price moves. XRP and the RSI still not in the oversold range, but we are basically bottomed out in terms of the daily stochastic RSI. In terms of the weekly, we're probably still, we did just actually enter the oversold range, kind of like we did back here in the late part of March, early part of April. And we know what happened from there. We got a nice little rebound, nice little rally. So that might be what is in our future in the coming weeks here. Now, what I will say is continue to remain resilient for XRP. This is accumulation and removal of supply from exchanges. So this last week, we actually saw $133 million worth of XRP removed from exchanges. We have not had a week that large since all the way back in the late part of May. All right. So we're witnessing a little bit of a shift taking place there, where there again is confidence enough to buy XRP at some of these, we'll call it discounted, cheaper prices. So that's kind of where we're at. Those are the things that we need to pay attention to this week. I hope U.S. money wakes up and mentally wakes up mentally and starts accumulating, starts defending price, and realizes that, a lot of this noise that's in the space, it's short-term stuff. It really is. And eventually it's going to become a big nothing burger in the grand scheme of things as we go on to have our traditional alt season where alts are making up huge ground where we have big adoption taking place. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen in times like this where the market does have that level of uncertainty, but it's not going to be uncertain forever. We're going through some pretty big shifts again from a monetary policy standpoint, from an economic standpoint, from an administration standpoint, and there will be fits, obviously, in the early part of that. So I appreciate you guys as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.